When we feel we've fallen off track, we have two options. We can stay negative, or we can shift into neutral or positive. If we believe we must carry forward the old plan, we will feel negative, because we will know that we're off track no matter how much we try to convince ourselves otherwise. But if we reset, then we can feel neutral or positive simply by recognizing that we are still on track. We're just on a different path. That doesn't mean we change our goals. It means we can only move forward from where we are. And sometimes that means that the path that you thought you'd planned out perfectly a few weeks ago needs to change. Welcome to The Joy Within. I'm Kyle Greenfield, and I believe that you have the ability to become calm, confident, and happy anytime that you choose. Some days, that's easier than others, but with the right tools and the right way of thinking, we can unlock incredible states of joy, peace, and well-being within us. So visit thejoywithin.org to get started today, so that together we can create a happier and more peaceful world. Hey guys, welcome back to the Joy Within's podcast. Today, I want to encourage you to step back and check in with yourself about how you've been doing over the last couple of weeks. I don't know if you noticed, but it's February. And I say that honestly because on Saturday, I was like, wait, what? What happened to last month? I mean, it really hit me because I've done maybe about a third of what I'd wanted to get done last month. And I don't know. The month went by, and here we are. And for me, personally, I actually do know what happened. I mean, my wife and I were away at the beginning of the month, which obviously I had planned for. But as soon as we got back from vacation, I got the flu, or COVID, or whatever it is that's going around right now. And I was completely knocked out for over a week, which for me, never happens. I basically just slept and somewhat deliriously watched Netflix. Anyway, I wasn't going to mention any of this, but then this week, 3 different clients actually brought up some variation of this theme. They went into the year excited, resolved, ready to conquer the world, and somehow the month just slipped by. And it feels like nothing got done. Maybe you can relate. Whether that's getting sick, like I did, family stuff coming up, maybe extra work getting dumped on your plate, whatever it is. If so, then I'd like to suggest you take a few minutes to check in with yourself, because you're at an inflection point. It doesn't matter what happened, what the reason is that you feel behind or thrown off track. It matters how you move forward from here, because what we don't want is for this feeling of being thrown off or behind to carry forward into this next month. And I want to talk about this from 2 different angles. The first is kind of the surface level default response, and the second is how we plan moving forward. So when you have a week or a month, when you get thrown off, the question is, how do you respond? Do you give yourself grace? Do you accept where you are without blame or judgment and just move forward? Or do you wallow in what happened? Do you stew on it and beat yourself up for not being where you thought you would be? And it's not a black and white answer. It's a spectrum. And I think it helps if we reflect on possible responses that we could have had to help us illuminate where we actually are. So I'll use myself as an example here. I missed more than a week of work, a week flat out, and then a second week where I was just sort of half functioning, only doing the essentials. So I'm behind on the projects that I really wanted to move forward. How might I respond to that? Well, I could get depressed. I could start beating myself up. I could start blaming myself for not doing more and decide that I'm worthless. Realize that I never hit my goals. Nothing ever goes my way. I could say things like, why does this have to happen to me? Like, especially now, why? Why is it every time I start to make progress, something just stops me? That's one option for how I could respond. And if I take that route, maybe I get angry about it. Maybe I let myself feel like a victim. Maybe I just give up and lie on the couch for yet another week. All of those are possible choices. On the other end of the spectrum, I could be completely surrendered, completely at peace with what happened, not even just accepting of it, but I could choose to believe, you know what? My timing is always perfect. I always have everything that I need. I don't need to know how things will work out. And if I had a week where I didn't feel inspired, it's just because everything was lining up for me in a way that I can't see yet. That's not just feeling okay with what happened. It's actually feeling more positive because of it. And while that sounds good, it's probably not your immediate default response. I mean, I wasn't lying there on the couch coughing away for a week thinking, man, this is exactly how I wanted this week to go. I mean, maybe I could have had that response, but I'm human. So chances are we all fall somewhere in the middle of that spectrum. And what I heard over and over again this week from my clients was that it came down to stress. The response is something like, I needed to get all of this done, and now I'm behind. And that's where the second level of this comes in, because it's about how we think about where we are in relation to our goals and the plans that we have made. The key takeaway here is when we feel we've fallen off track, we have two options. We can stay negative, or we can shift into neutral or positive. If we believe we must carry forward the old plan, we will feel negative, because we will know that we're off track no matter how much we try to convince ourselves otherwise. But if we reset, then we can feel neutral or positive simply by recognizing that we are still on track. We're just on a different path. That doesn't mean we change our goals. It means we can only move forward from where we are. And sometimes that means that the path that you thought you'd planned out perfectly a few weeks ago needs to change. If you're dealing with stress and negativity in your life, the Joy Within can help. Our membership program provides a clear path to reduce stress and cultivate more joy in your life by showing you how to get out of your own way. When we learn to quiet that annoying little voice in our head, we allow a natural sense of joy, peace, and well-being to shine from within. Our program activates that joy within you by combining clear insights and simple actions with personal accountability and a plan that we customize to work for you. Best of all, it's free to get started. So head over to thejoywithin.org/join to sign up today. That's thejoywithin.org/join. Now, back to the show. When I was in my 20s, I sailed from California to Mexico, and our heading from San Diego to Cabo was 137 degrees. Actually, I just made that number up. It's south-southeast, so I don't remember the exact number, but somewhere around 137. And it's easy to think logically before you leave San Diego. Okay, this is our heading. We just need to stay headed at 137 degrees. That's south-southeast. But if you've ever actually been sailing, then you know that never happens. You have to adjust for the wind. You have to tack back and forth. The current pulls you off track a bit. So you almost never actually go your desired heading. And if you've been pulled off course, it would be absolute insanity to think, oh, no, my heading is 137. I just need to stick to that. I'm going to stay at that heading. When in reality, the new heading should be 160 or 170 or whatever it is. If you're at a different point from where you expected to be, you have to change your expected course of action. Now, this is obvious when it comes to sailing, but we often ignore it completely when it comes to our goals. For whatever reason, if we get thrown off plan, we think we need to scurry to get back to the original plan. We try to make up the difference, as if that original plan were written on stone tablets sent down from heaven. I mean, no, that plan is now irrelevant, because we can only move forward from where we are. When we try to carry forward that expectation of where we should have been, that's when we get stressed. That's when we feel left behind. And that's when we make more mistakes, trying to scurry back to where we think that we should be. It's like trying to become something that we're not. It just doesn't make any sense. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes the answer is to make up the difference somehow, to work a few extra hours and get that extra work done. But the point is, that's a new plan. Think about the difference in energy here. Let's say you've fallen behind and you need to work an extra 2 hours for the next week in order to catch up. One response to that is, every day for the next week, you keep thinking, oh my God, I'm so far behind, I have to catch up. I'm so stressed about this. It feels stressful because you're comparing yourself to the original plan and you feel off track. You're not realistic about where you are. But you could take that same action, knowing it is a new plan, moving from where you are, not where you thought you should have been. So it's that same action, that same extra 2 hours of work each day, but you actually feel better about it. You could even feel proud or accomplished because you're thinking, I'm on track with this new plan for the week. I'm so proud. Maybe I'm even energized by it because I'm getting so much done. And it is a completely different perspective, even if the actual action or task hasn't changed. I think the challenge is we often don't think this way when the expected difference is small. If we feel like we're just a little bit behind, then we think we can catch up. It's only when we're way off that we step back and reevaluate and replan. But what we don't realize is that the pull to get back to the original plan weighs us down. It stresses us out, and it actually makes it less likely that we'll get where we ultimately want to be. So we can let go of so much of that weight simply by stepping back, accepting where we are, and thinking, okay, so how do I move forward from here? I mean, that's really the only thing we ever can do. The real question is the degree of tension or negativity that you're willing to accept before you realize that. Just be honest about it to yourself. If you miss one day of work, you unconsciously think, okay, I'll just accept this stress and buckle down until it's done. But if you miss the entire month, let's say, then you're forced to reset because there's no way you could catch up. Or maybe it's a coworker that misses a day, and now you have to do some of their work. And if that's one day, it's a small amount of stress, so you accept it. But if they were to quit or go on maternity leave for a year, then it would be unreasonable for you to take all of that on. But the only difference here is one of degree. So there's always a sliding scale, and there is always a choice, the degree of negativity that you're willing to accept into your life. And I like extrapolating out to the extreme because it makes our unconscious patterns more obvious. Then we can make better choices about them. So if something would have to be reset or reevaluated, if it were more extreme, why not do that sooner? Why accept any degree of stress because you've fallen out of sync with a past plan or a past expectation? Why not accept that there is always a new path forward from where you are? And even if that means the same in terms of physical action, the emotional toll will be different. You'll feel more at peace because you accept the new path and recognize this new path is completely new. Even if most of the actions look the same, it is a new path. And on this new path, you're back on track. Do you feel that difference? I know it's not always easy to do this. It's hard to spot these patterns within ourselves, and it can be hard to let go of them when we believe that our past expectations are the one right path forward. But all of that always comes down to framing. It comes down to how we think, what we believe must or should happen for us. And we always have the ability to change that. We can always reset. It's really just our willingness to do it. If you decide you need help with this, then know that I take on a handful of private coaching clients. And if you head over to thejoywithin.org, you can schedule a time for us to speak one-on-one. Otherwise, I just encourage you to reflect on the ideas I talked about today. Let them mull over in your mind for a bit. And think about how you might reset and move forward from where you are today, not where you think you should have been. Often just reflecting on it in this way will help you to reset and automatically shift into that new expectation, that idea of a new path forward. So I hope that this helps. Wherever you are, know that I love you and I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time, and if you found this helpful, please pass it along. Sharing is the number one way for me to know what kind of content you guys want to hear so that I can keep making more like this. And it also helps you to give you a chance to spark a conversation with someone that you often don't talk about struggles or personal growth with. And I think that's super important for us to really get a handle on what we're going through and how we can best move forward. So that's it for today. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to The Joy Within. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please do what you can to spread the word. I believe that we all deserve to feel calm, confident, and happy literally every single day. But with everything that's going on in the world, we need to work together to remind ourselves of that in as many little ways as we can. So please, pass this along to the people you care about. Email a friend, share it on social, do whatever feels right for you, so that hopefully, together, we can create a little more peace in our crazy modern world.